Good afternoon, Rotarians guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. I know we got a number of folks still making their way in from the buffet, but as we start the meeting, I'd like to invite past President Travis Tangeman to come to the podium to deliver a reflection and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, exactly. Good afternoon, everybody. This past weekend, golf fans around the world witnessed Rory McIlroy finally complete his career Grand Slam by winning the Masters, a goal that had eluded him for over a decade. Watching Rory sink the final putt on the first playoff hole was inspiring, but for me, it wasn't just the final result that stood out. It was the journey he took to get there, particularly during that final round. Throughout Sunday, Rory faced moments of brilliance and moments of struggle. A birdie here, a bogey there, a perfect drive followed by a missed putt. There were times he looked invincible and other times when doubt crept in. But no matter what, he kept moving forward, adjusting, refocusing, trusting the work he had put in. And isn't that exactly like life? We all have our birdie moments, those small victories where everything clicks, and we all have our bogeys too. The missed opportunities, the unexpected setbacks, the days where nothing seems to go right. Success isn't about playing a perfect round. It's about how we respond when things don't go our way. It's about having the courage to step up to the next shot with the same focus and determination as we did the one before. As Rotarians, we see the spirit in action every day. Whether it's in the projects we support, the causes we champion, or the lives we touch, we understand that real change isn't about perfection, it's about perseverance, service above self, and the commitment to keep trying even when the course gets tough. Rory's final round was a reminder that greatness isn't found in the absence of mistakes, it's found in the resilience to overcome them. So today, as we continue our work through Rotary, let's remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about staying in the game, encouraging each other along the way, and celebrating both the victories and the lessons learned from those challenges. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. As we begin our meeting, I'd like to thank and acknowledge Equitable Advisors as this month's sponsor and Rotarian Jason Harris. I feel like I saw Jason. Is he? Yep, all the way in the back. Jason, thank you very much. I'm excited to welcome, actually, you know what, before we do that, let me, if you have brought a guest with you, invite you to head to the center of the room. Zach is sprinting there right now to meet you with a wireless microphone to introduce your guest. Again, just as a reminder, we've got a number of guests here today. In the interest of time, just introduce your guest with their name and where they work. All right, Aaron, go for it.
Hi, my name is Erin Baker, and my guest today is my student that's shadowing me from St. Ursula Academy, Sienna.
Sienna, thank you for being here.
President Kevin and fellow Rotarians, I have two guests with me today. I have the first one is our Honorable Judge Duhart, if you know him, Myron Duhart, and he is, let me get this title. Dun, dun, dun. He is the 6th District Court of Appeals judge, and so we're glad to have him, and he's already put an application in. So please greet him. Yes, welcome.
Judge Duhart, thank you for being here.
Yes. I also have with me Ms. Sheena Barnes, who is on the Toledo Public Schools Board of Education and the Director of People and Culture for Quality Ohio and the owner of Just Acts LLC, and she's going to be working on that application soon. So please welcome her. Thank you.
Sheena, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Fellow Rotarians, I'm happy to have two guests today. My first guest is Adam Simpson. He's the Communications and Marketing Director of Ronald McDonald House. And then we also have Chuck, is it Bonsack? I didn't want to say it wrong, with Comparion Insurance Agency. Thank you so much.
Adam and Chuck, good to see you both. Thank you for being here.
President Kevin, my fellow Rotarians, my guest today is Carolyn Kahn. Carolyn's with Blue Technologies here in town as a territory manager.
Here, thank you for being here.
President Kevin, I've got my good friend and a fraternity brother, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Dorian Hooker. He is Director of Development for Academy of Urban Scholars, and he is also the coordinator for the African American Male Wellness Walk.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. John, he graduated a lot after you, right? That's just what I'm looking. He looks a lot younger than you. All right, perfect. All right, well, guests, thank you so much for being here. I am excited to introduce someone that I came to know sort of by accident. I got a random phone call from a Ann Arbor area code, and I randomly answered it, and I think it was like 2 hours later we hung up the phone after realizing how much we share in common, and I had a great time. And then fast forward about a year later, he joined myself and 4 other Rotarians on a trip to Honduras to help us not only take a look at a prospective grant that was in front of our International Services Committee, but also experience Rotary's service fair, Uniendo. And so I am pleased to welcome a dear friend and a phenomenal human being. He also happens to be an Ann Arbor Rotarian, and they are what's referred to as a singing club. So anything could happen when he gets up here, just be aware of that. He may lead us in song, but please welcome Tucker Rossmessler from International Samaritan. And he's going to give us an update on our International Samaritan grant in Honduras.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, and I'm not going to sing, so you're lucky. But if you join me at my club, you will enjoy a round of singing. We don't just sing one song. Anywho, we a year ago in January, 4 Rotarians. Oh, I have the slides here. I'm going to run you through some pictures, potentially. As Kevin said, went to Innuendo. And I didn't know much about Rotary until this trip. Raina Dawson, Mike Noble, Hannah Morzo, Travis Tangeman, and Kevin Mullen all went to join, really to learn about garbage dump economy. There is a whole economy in the developing world, in many developing nations, where people survive off of garbage, going to pick recyclables and trash to resell and often food to eat. You'll see here, this was a march against child labor that our many scholars that we support in the community put together. And her sign says, "You and I are both worthy of a good education." Couldn't agree more. And so our mission is to walk in hand or in solidarity with people in garbage dump communities, these communities that are surrounding garbage dumps, along with those with a calling to help to break the chains of poverty and improve lives. And so we do this through holistic support and education. And we have community centers we call family life centers. And so one of the grant that I'm talking about that we received from you all, your club, was a grant for a brand new computer lab to help that went inside the Family Life Center. Now, as you can imagine, a lot of the families don't have access to computers or even internet at all, and so this computer lab is a game changer for their education, as well as just collaboration and opportunities to learn something new. So I'm just gonna run through a couple photos. And not just the students, this is a community center where families can come to learn more. But what really was amazing about this trip wasn't just the grant that is carrying on the energy in Honduras and the computer lab, but really as Rotary, their theme is the magic of Rotary is really what happened. And so at Innuendo, our team, Ronya and Erica and myself, had a little table at Innuendo, and we started networking with fellow Rotarians, much like you do around the tables today and each Monday. And Ronya met a nonprofit called Mentors International, and they are now mentoring the women in the community, teaching them entrepreneurial skills, gardening, and preparing food professionally so that they can break this cycle of poverty of just picking trash. It's really an amazing thing what the magic of Rotary is all about. And I was just so grateful for this club is really what started it. And it wasn't just the computer labs. It isn't just our new network of Rotarians in Honduras. A group of Rotarians also came alongside and built a playground as well. So this was not just, it's amazing what one grant can do. And so I just wanted to say thank you. I have a small little table in the back if you want to chat with me after today's meeting. I would love to meet you and swap stories if you'd like. So thanks for having me, and thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you. The magic of Rotary indeed. It's so cool to see photos of, kids and families that we likely met while we were there, and to see them. And it's the thing that, we knew what we were doing, but it's all the things that we didn't know about that are now happening as a result of that. All the fruits that are coming from the seeds that we planted, and it's pretty cool. So Tucker, thank you for being here. Thanks for your leadership on that, and certainly thanks to this club for their support. This is just one of many ways that our foundation is changing lives in our community and around the world. We are in the midst of our annual drive. That determines how many dollars we can award next year. And so if you have not yet made your donation, you can search in your email for foundation, for donate, for refinance your house. All of those things should take you back to the link for you to donate to support the foundation. As this grant will show you, there is not a better dollar you could spend in our community to have an impact, again, locally and around the world. So thank you. There is a QR code on your tables as well. At the bottom of the April sponsor, you can scan that to make your donation. So I joined the club in 2014, and it was shortly thereafter that I attended a meeting that sort of solidified for me that this is the room I want to be in every single Monday. And that was a meeting when someone I'd never heard of before, who was leading an organization that I knew, at least I thought I knew what they were, but presented a vision for our community that, as someone who had just recently moved back to town, was so excited to see the vision. And that individual was Dave Zenk, the director of the Metro Parks, where he laid out in front of our club a vision for what our community could look like. Fast forward to today, and a lot of the things that he dreamed of, this would have been what, 2017? So back in 2017 are now starting to come true. And so I could not be more excited to welcome, for what I have told him better be my new favorite Rotary meeting. No pressure. Please welcome the director of Metro Parks Toledo, Dave Zenk.
Well, thank you, President Kevin. Thank you for having me here today. So before the meeting started, Kevin granted me some interesting authority. Said that because today is going to hit 70 degrees, you all have the ability to take the rest of the day off if you visit a Metro Park. So he granted me that authority. If any of your bosses have a problem with that, they're to call Kevin. So thank you again for being here. I'm really excited about this conversation. And in many ways, I teed this up as a continuation of the conversation that Kevin just referred to from 2017. And you got to remember, I want to set the stage by just reminding you of what our community was facing during that moment in time. Might need some help here. So we're just off of the water crisis as a community. If you Googled us in 2015, 2016, 2017, the headlines for Northwest Ohio and the greater Toledo area weren't great. That was one of the things we all wanted to change. And this isn't about Metro Parks. We all leaned in on this idea together. We'd also just had a couple pretty significant and longstanding businesses in our community announce that they were leaving town, if you'll recall. And of particular interest was why they were leaving town. So a couple of them in particular said they were leaving town because the quality of life in Northwest Ohio was so abysmal they couldn't attract or retain the talent they needed to operate their businesses. So we had a lot going on. Our reputation wasn't what we wanted it to be. The level of economic development that was occurring in our community wasn't what we wanted it to be. And all of us together decided we needed to make a plan to fix that. And that conversation started by simply asking the question, what if tomorrow were different? What would have to happen? And so we started the process of answering that, and then we all leaned in again as part of step 2 to do some benchmarking across the community.
Tomorrow. They imagine a future filled with new devices, technology that will somehow make us smarter and more productive, and help make a fast-paced world move even faster. But what if tomorrow were different? What if the best things about today, natural beauty, open spaces, clean air and water, and the ways we get outside and enjoy them together, were still here? And what if our natural places were even bigger and better than they are now? So that no matter where you are, you're within minutes of a metro park. Places to refresh the spirit, connect with family and friends, and recharge your passion for nature. For nearly 90 years, Metro Parks has preserved our heritage and national treasures, rebuilding, restoring, and recreating landscapes, inviting people to come out and play. Today, millions of visitors enjoy Metro Parks every year, and we've developed a plan to build one of America's best park systems for decades to come. We're opening new parks and completing pathways and greenways that connect parks so that everyone in the Toledo region will literally be within 5 miles from the nearest Metro Park. We're playing a key role in conservation, providing environmental and healthy living education for children and adults alike. At Metro Parks, we are realizing our dream of connecting parks to people and people to parks. But it's a dream that's bigger than that. It's our grandkids seeing the same beauty we see, the same beauty our grandparents saw. It's getting outside 4 walls and getting outside the everyday. So enjoy Metro Parks and get outside yourself.
So we knew that Metro Parks could play a much bigger role as it related to advancing our region's reputation, our identity, and our economic development. And with your help, with the Chamber of Commerce help, we took the next step of trying to identify who is doing it better than we were already. Who are we competing against? And you might recall some of these slides because we started to inventory 5 to 7 cities across the country. And an emerging theme started to really come into picture. All of them were out investing Toledo and Northwest Ohio in terms of the quality, the quantity, and the activation of their open space, particularly in the core of their downtown. You can start to see the types of investments they were making and also the types of ROI that they were receiving, the types of headlines, the notoriety, the economic development that we wanted and thought we could get as a community. Places like Omaha, and you can see the headlines they were getting. Tulsa, Oklahoma at the time, one of America's most livable cities. We weren't on any of these lists at this moment in time. As we looked even closer to home, some of these started to sting a little bit as we looked at Grand Rapids getting notoriety for their fishing. We live in the country's most viable freshwater fishery, quite literally in the country. The basin of Northwest Lake Erie is the most productive fishery that exists in all of the Great Lakes, and we weren't on any of these lists. The same thing with things like mountain biking. There's no mountains in Grand Rapids, yet they were still getting all of this type of attention. Des Moines also taught us a pretty interesting story. So we started to look at this. Many of us were rolling up our sleeves. This was the same time we were working together at the new downtown Toledo master plan, and it started to seem like this was going to be daunting, generational work until we found Des Moines, who changed their reputation in less than 10 years. It showed us that this work didn't have to take long. In 10 years, they went from the dullest city in America to the hippest. So this caught our attention, and we thought, you know what, we can do this too. So this is a bit of a progress report. What's happened since 2017? And here's some of the empirical data of the work that you all have helped support and advance. Since 2017, in one of my first conversations with you, Metro Parks has acquired and stewarded an additional 1,000 acres of property forever across our region. We've built over 50 new miles of trails. We've brought in tens of millions of dollars, and mostly federal dollars, to leverage the public support that you trust us with to do even more on behalf of this community. And we've opened 10 new Metro Parks in just 8 years as part of this vision. So today, we're nearly 100 years old. We have over 13,000 acres of property that we steward across Northwest Ohio, well over 200 miles of trails as we continue to work towards that goal of connecting every Metro Parks to each other. 19 individual Metro Parks today. I'm sure that's going to grow to 20 at some point because our board chair is really eerie of these odd numbers, so we got to get to 20 as fast as we can. But why this work matters, I think, is on this slide, and this is a little bit sobering. We aren't tone deaf. We hear from time to time, Metro Parks is buying all of this property, you're growing so fast, is this sustainable? We hear all of these things, but this slide really is the impetus of why we think this is so important. And it is sobering, because if you look at this, almost 90% of our historic natural areas across Northwest Ohio have been lost. So to put that in perspective, most of you probably know Oak Openings. So it's by far and away our largest park. It's about 4,500 acres. Over the course of development in Northwest Ohio, we have cut down what equates to 45 individual Oak Openings metro parks and lost that quantity of forest. So as it relates to why this work is important, everything that we do, even the new work that we're going to talk about downtown, is embedded in conservation and restoration, and it's responsive to this fact. Just about 90% of our historic natural areas are gone at this point forever. With all the property that we're so fortunate to steward, for perspective, Metro Parks is still around 5.5% of the total acreage in Northwest Ohio. So today we see about 21 million visits from 2017 to where we are today, and that represents well over a 60% growth in people that are actually visiting Metro Parks. This is a bit of a change in design. We really focused on not only expanding our footprint to make parks more proximate to people, but we also got a lot better, frankly, at designing and developing ways to activate these parks that make people want to visit even more. And I'm happy to say, as you can see by these numbers, that the plan is working. So if we dissect those numbers a little bit more, 14 million of those visits have come from Lucas County residents, which is what we would expect. About 1.5 million come from our friends across the border into Michigan, and so we'll track you today if you get out and go visit a Metro Park later, as you're supposed to. But we're almost 1 million visitors then from every other state in the country besides Michigan and Ohio. So wanted to just remind you, I was here a few months ago as part of a panel to thank you and describe some of the important investments that you all have made in our community. And a lot of the work that we're doing now actually flows from the initial investment that you made into Metro Parks in 2016, when you helped us turn really an abandoned part of our city. At the time, it was quite literally a bit of a landfill. You all invested to date, I think it's still your most significant investment to help us turn this piece of property into the urban oasis that it is today. Middle Grounds Metro Park today sees between 400,000 and 500,000 visits every single year, thanks to the investment that you all helped kick off. As we continue on through time, the impact of 2020, of course, we all lived through the pandemic. This represents a quick snapshot of Metro Park's work during the pandemic. So during that particular year, Our private foundation finished the fundraising to develop the country's largest publicly operated treehouse village, which has been successful. We actually had more visitation to that village this year than we did the year it opened, but we opened that in 2020. We opened the first phase of the Glass City Riverwalk, Glass City Metro Park, which really served as a bit of a tool for all of us to understand what our riverfront could be in the future. It's been wildly successful. Cannonball Prairie in Monclova, Wabash Cannon Trail was extended 6 miles into Fulton County, almost entirely funded from off of local taxpayer dollars. And perhaps the most important, Manhattan Marsh in North Toledo was opened in 2020 as well, which is the park that makes it possible for our community to have a park within 5 miles of every resident. We planted 140,000 trees. We've restored 500 acres of new prairie and almost 1,000 acres of new wetlands during this time period as well. And often I get asked, so, okay, you're doing all of these things, but what does operating a Metro Park system really look like? So this is just a quick snapshot. One of the things that we hope you notice, which is a point of pride of our staff, is how clean our restrooms are when you visit a Metro Park. We've got almost 40 restrooms across our system right now, which get audited by 22 individual maintenance standards. It takes about 19,000 hours of janitorial services every year to keep these restrooms as clean as you all like them. And I will say empirically, we're going to go through some data today, but one thing I can say for sure is you all use a hell of a bunch of toilet paper. 5.8 million feet of toilet paper was used in the Metro Parks last year alone. So if you put that into perspective, you could stretch that from Swan Creek Metro Park to Tampa. That's a year's worth of toilet paper. So just, it's a random slide, but I thought you would appreciate the operations of Metro Parks. A couple projects I think that we're particularly proud of for a variety of reasons. One, we're going to talk about a lot of new things and a lot of new activities that Metro Parks is engaged in, but still at our core, we are a conservation organization, and that's what this slide shows. 3 very significant conservation initiatives that have been launched around our region in the last few years. Firstly, the recipe of these is how we're making a lot of this work happen. All of these projects fully funded represent about $15 million. Not one penny of that money came from Lucas County. This was all money that we've earned, we've brought into the community for both restoration and acquisition. The first project, Secor Expansion, we acquired 2 golf courses immediately adjacent to Secor Metro Park. From a spatial standpoint, that makes Secor the 3rd largest Metro Park. We fully funded all of the restoration, planted tens of thousands of trees, upland prairie, and some water quality improvements. Howard Marsh, we expanded by more than 200 acres on the west side of Howard Road. And Audubon Island is just getting ready to kick off. It's a restoration and stabilization project actually in the Maumee River. So one of the things that we know, and I hope that you see as we progress through this deck, is that this plan is working. The notion of creating high-quality, safe, open space, activating it in creative ways, is working and bringing a whole host of benefits across Northwest Ohio. It's being recognized nationally, as you see here in 2020, when Metro Parks was named the top park district amongst large cities in the entire country. So I'll transition quickly then into our work downtown. That was a snapshot of everything that we have accomplished around the region since 2017. And as you know, in 2020, as a community, we launched this initiative, the Glass City Riverwalk. And this is about creating over 300 acres of new open space in the core of downtown. It's one of the things that the benchmarks really showed us, that we were using perhaps our public's most prized asset, which is our publicly available open space on the riverfront, in some of the most abysmal ways possible. We had abandoned warehouses, we're storing our bulk road salt. You guys remember all the ways we were using it. And part of the competitive advantage that we weren't taking advantage of is what's on the screen here. And so the idea was creating and activating 300 acres of new open space, linking it together on both sides of the river with a 5-mile multi-purpose trail, which, oh, by the way, connects 6 of our most impoverished and oldest neighborhoods that exist on both sides of the river. Restoring it fully, activating it, and leveraging all of that work in such a way that it becomes a turnkey economic development model. That was the idea that we came up with together. That was the idea that was embedded in the Downtown Toledo Master Plan and really flowed from some of the early benchmarks that I showed you. So let's talk quickly about how this is working. I think most of you have probably seen, been to, or heard something about Glass City Metro Park, which was the first phase. We've been open as June was our 1-year anniversary there. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the results that we've seen. If you look at the history of all of this property downtown, what we're dealing with and what we're inheriting is a highly industrial history. We've got steel plants that were here. We've got coal-fired power plants. Many of you remember watching 80s concerts on the east side, right? All of these things, the railroad industry that came through here left us a highly degraded, fragmented site that we're overcoming. So step one in many of these projects was actually just building the soil characteristics in order to be able to perform restoration work, to develop these native plantings, to establish reforestation, and make a lot of these things actually happen as a basic building block of the park. So you remember the Marina District when we started. This was an interesting proof of concept. As a community, we had been grappled on what to do with this property for many, many years. There were no less than 5 ribbon cuttings for things that never happened on this property. I have no idea. I think we called this the road to nowhere. I have no idea why we put so many lampposts on this road. There was probably no less than 1,000 lamps, so it was really well lit. But nonetheless, we did nothing with it. And one of the things that the Glass City Riverwalk did, I think, for our community, amongst a variety of benefits, is that it solved a long-standing debate between the use of some of this open space. Because we as a community had always looked at this from the perspective of, it could be a park, or it can be used for private economic development. And what we never really thought of or contemplated was that it needed to be both, and that's what makes this work. So we took this site, and we've turned it into this. From June to a little past June of last year, we've seen over 1 million visits to this park, so we know this model works. The activation brings people down, which supports all of the other benefits that we're seeing. So when we looked, you might remember, some of you that were part of this story, every community across the country that was doing this, we're seeing empirical results in terms of return, someplace between $7 and $10. For every public dollar that was invested, we would see that amount returned in private economic development. And Scott and Matt, who were here, would never let me cite this early on because that meant our project was going to see about $1 billion of economic activity. And they were afraid that we would get laughed out of every room that we would try to articulate that in. And here we are. Glass City Metro Park represents 25% of the entire Riverwalk. And Paul Toth at Connect Toledo's reported we've seen over $400 million of new private economic development on the periphery of this already, and we're only a quarter of the way done. So we know this model works. We know we're seeing development in places of our community that just a few years ago would have been unheard of. As we talk about benefits, I think this is one of the ones that our team is probably the most proud of. I mentioned the 6 neighborhoods that we're serving in the core of downtown here. And we knew that there would be benefits, but frankly and candidly, I don't think we realized how quickly some of the changes would occur to these neighborhoods. So again, we've only been open for just over a year. When we started this project, the Garfield neighborhood, which is the neighborhood immediately across Front Street in East Toledo, historically a very tenanted neighborhood. When we started, it was about 19% owner-occupied. This is a little bit old data. You can see in 2023, we crossed the doorstep of 50%. Today, we crossed the doorstep of 60% owner-occupied in that neighborhood. And one of the paradigm shifts that's happening here is the value of these homes are increasing as well. So by 23, we had already more than doubled the value of the homes. And if you were to pull out your phone now and pull up Zillow or whatever real estate app you'd wanted to use, you will see houses regularly selling for $125,000, $130,000, which creates the equity necessary to fix this 100-year-old housing stock up. So you're seeing the project also stabilize neighborhoods in ways that as a community we hadn't been able to really crack for generations. Our regional reputation was a big part of why we all committed to launching this endeavor, and you're starting to see the fruits of that come in as well. This is just a couple examples. I've got a slide in the future as well, which shows you the type of headlines that we are now starting to get. You're seeing Toledo on the best of list, on the quality of life list that we always wanted to be. The last one there, smashing expectations. I mean, these are how other communities are now looking to Northwest Ohio and Toledo as a result of the investment that we've all made together. So that was just Glass City Metro Park. The next phase is currently under construction. This is the Downtown Central Business District and the first phase of International Park, which is now called Glass City. It's all part of Glass City. At our office, we have a swear jar. So if you say International Park, you have to put a buck in the swear jar. So this is the last time we'll use the phrase International Park, just so you know. there's a lot of money in it, I think. So this gives you some sense of what we're up to in the next phase of construction. The International Cove, of course, new boardwalks, new restoration initiatives. You've probably seen us launch our partnership with the University of Toledo to bring varsity rowing downtown to help activate this space. We're revamping the walkways to separate pedestrian and bicycle lanes, all new play amenities along the riverfront to continue to help activate this space, while we're continuing folding in additional economic development projects as well. So we're going to shift to the Vistula corridor then, which we have actually just started work on. I don't know, has anybody been to the new pickle facility? Okay, this was really the first effort. So the pickle facility is in the very top left portion of the screen there. That was in a city maintenance building 7 or 8 months ago that was converted into this great new amenity with our partners. Been highly received. And the site next to it is actually the site that we used to store our bulk road salt as a community. And one of the aha moments as we went through this, that it was a really poor land use decision that we were using. So what happens in this part of the corridor, we've got a highly activated facility here with our partner, which will flow right into another great high-quality open space to connect into the Vistula community. It will be designed and developed no different than the way we did Glass City, where every pedestrian access, every crosswalk is integrated into the overall park design as well. So we're really excited. We're currently in some fundraising and bringing some grants in to close a final gap in this phase, and we hope to see this under construction in 2026. Which leaves the last phase of Glass City upriver as part of the end of this project. Most communities, one of the things I get asked a lot is, how long is this gonna take? Of the communities that we benchmarked that I showed you earlier, on average, it was 22 years to complete a project like this. We're on track to complete it in 12, and ours is actually, from a financial investment, a bit more significant. Existing conditions in Glass City upriver, get a sense of, based on the other fit and finish for the rest of the Riverwalk, how we're going to transform that. And I don't know if there's anybody here from the city today, but I always take a moment to pause, because one of the things our community is doing really well right now is working together, probably more collaboratively than I've seen in the time that I've lived in this community. And this is a great example. The community is investing really significantly in our riverfront. We're activating it, we're seeing all of these other benefits, but our partners at the city and others are layering on additional benefits to make all of this work that much better. So I want you to think in just a couple years what's going to happen. When you cross the MLK Bridge, which is currently under construction, it's receiving an entire facade overhaul right now. It's receiving all new pedestrian connections on its bridge deck. You're going to cross into East Toledo, which will entirely be reconstructed. You've got new parks, you've got new businesses, you've got new restaurants, you've got a new bank branch. All of Front Street and all of Main Street will also be reconstructed in the next couple years, thanks to some other public funding and our partners at the city. So you start to get a sense of the momentum that's occurring as an extension of this project. And that momentum, of course, is continuing to realize these types of dividends, continuing to change the narrative at a national level of how other communities are talking about Toledo. We're now in the top 10 list of many of these articles. And these aren't insignificant. We're talking about Midwest living, travel and leisure, Toledo redefining itself in Midwest living. So I think one of the things that we want you to take away from our conversation today is we are doing a lot of things that most Metro Park systems across the country don't do. We're evolving, we will continue to evolve, we will continue to get creative, we will continue to partner with all of you. But at the end of the day, conservation is still at the heart of what we do. And everything that you are seeing across our community that's happening right now, that's on the periphery of our work, is happening because of a park.
So much can grow because of a park. Trees and bees and streams and the lessons you learn from scraped knees. Flourishing beauty, bursting from the ground, water and air. Breathe it in. Through your nose, out your mouth. Slow. It shapes our memories. From our first time in a toddler swing, to the trail run with a high school team, to the colors of fall and the days grow shorter. But the potential for growth and the connections that are made because of parks are as deep as roots. Because when parks grow, so do your opportunities. When parks are valued, so is your home. When parks are healthy and thriving, so are entire communities. When parks are attractive for wildlife, the region attracts visitors. So while our work looks like fun, well, it is. But it's more than that. We're not just building tree houses and bike trails. We're cultivating a network of parks that is connecting people, open to all. A resource that has brought new life to Northwest Ohio. Because so much is growing, simply because of a park.
So again, thank you for having me. Thanks for your continued support of the work that we do for this community together. And President Kevin, if there's time, I'm happy to take any questions that you all might have. Okay, thank you again, everybody. Did I miss one?
Okay, so two quick questions for you. You've been doing a lot of work in Wildwood Metro Park to manage the oak wilt disease. What's going to happen to all the lumber, the logs that you're setting aside from the places that you've cut for the oak wilt?
So I don't know if everybody understands or has heard of oak wilt before, but for perspective, Wildwood's forest is comprised of over 80% red oak trees. Oak wilt is a pathogen that actually spreads underground by grafting roots together. So when a tree gets this, it has the ability to wipe out an entire forest very quickly. So a lot of the removals that you'll see in Wildwood and in a lot of the Oak Openings corridor are part of our sanitation efforts to try to keep this disease in check. The wood itself has to go through a process to ensure after it's cut that disease doesn't spread, because not only does it spread underground through the root grafts itself, but there are beetles under the bark. So traditionally, most of that wood will actually end up getting chipped as a result of that process to assist in the sanitation process.
Okay, thank you. You looked at Boise, Idaho, which is a great benchmark, I think, because I've hiked and biked there, and that's a great community, and they got a great system of parks and bike trails and stuff. My second question was for the Cannonball Trail. I'm a regular biker on there during the summer. By the end of June, it gets really overgrown, and instead of a 2-lane bike path, it's 1, maybe, as you dodge the brambles and stuff. Is there a focus for a little more maintenance on brush control there so that everybody can enjoy it?
It is, yeah, great question. And I know over the winter, we actually acquired a new boom mower to continue to knock that overgrowth back every year. Thank you. Okay, thanks again, everybody.
Dave, thank you so much for joining us, and all of your guests from Metro Parks Toledo. We appreciate you being here. As a thank you for your time today, we're going to present you with a book, Historical Tales of Toledo, authored by past President Clint Mock. We're also going to make a donation in your name to the Polio Plus effort with Rotary International to eradicate polio from the face of the earth. So thank you very much. One more round of applause for Dave Zenk. I wore my bright colors today because next week we have no meeting. We are off next week in observance of the Easter holiday. We will be back April 28th for a panel discussion about our Ohio's Girls OK. Girl Scouts of Western Ohio will share how Ohio's girls are doing in the areas of social, emotional, and physical health, as well as academic success. And their CEO from down in Cincinnati will be up here in Toledo and joining us for that presentation. May 5th is our second annual Founders Day golf outing at Sylvania Country Club. I don't know if I saw Alex. Alex, is there any updates you want to give us on that? Not from there, from a microphone probably. Oh, Zach's coming for you. Yeah, that's perfect. We've got some time, so we might as well use it. So
Thanks.
Alex has done a great job on this, but Alex, give us an update on what...
Thanks for bringing me up as a time killer. I appreciate that, Kevin.
You're welcome.
We continue to do extremely well. We're full as far as teams go, and we have 4 teams on the waiting list. So, you know, if somebody does happen to back out, let me know as soon as you can. We'll still be happy to collect your fee, and we'll bring somebody else in. So thank you for that. We're still looking for a couple of, not really major sponsors, but you know, a putting green sponsor, which is $1,500, a cart sponsor, which is $1,000, and we'll take as many hole sponsors as we can, which is $500. So we're doing extremely well. Looking forward to the event. This Friday is our last committee meeting, so we'll be ready to go on the 5th.
Do you want to talk at all about where the dollars from this go? I know we've got some meetings coming up to talk about what we do with those, but what are the proceeds for this?
I have no clue.
Well done. We don't let Alex in on that side of the conversation. So Alex is in charge of revenue, not expenses. It's perfect. So the proceeds from this outing, Alex, listen closely, will go to our Transformational Project Fund, and we've got a meeting coming up in May 12th. May 12th, where we'll talk about some different, I see Kate giving me a thumbs up in the back, where Greater Civic Community Foundation will help us explore what that next big project, I like to use the term transformational focus rather than transformational project, what that next focus for our club is going to be. Again, our last major project in this community, we selected several of them before the pandemic. And so we were clean water, lead abatement, and early childhood education, and we're looking at what does that next phase look like. So we'll have more of those conversations coming up in May. But again, this proceeds from this will allow us to do a next major initiative. So thank you for everyone supporting. Thank you to Alex and his committee for their leadership and hard work on this. It's incredible. This Thursday, April 17th, we will have our happy hour at Fusion in Cricket West. That'll be from 4 to 6. If you want to come early, you want to stay late, you are entirely welcome to. We're excited to see you there. And then Camp Day, Disability Services Committee in partnership with Glendale Fieldbach School. Camp Day is Wednesday, April 30th. Update your calendars. I think it may have originally been on April 29th. It is now on April 30th. And so let's make sure you've got that date and you get signed up for that. It's an incredible day. I had a chance to be out at Zoo Day with these students earlier this year. It's just incredible to see young leaders and the kids from Glendale Fieldbach and Rotarians all come together. So we're excited to see you out there. We have 2 committee meetings this afternoon. Membership and Engagement is meeting in Summit B. Community Services is meeting in Summit C. Again, if you are not currently on a committee but would like to join one, stop into either one of those meetings. And with that, thank you all for being here. Thank you again to the Metro Parks for their time today. Go out, make it a great day. As Dave said, you have the rest of the day off. Have your boss reach out to me. I have no authority in any of those realms, but you already knew that. So make it a great day. We are adjourned.